What the very trait you believe makes you a good person is secretly holding you hostage. We live in a world that applauds the yes, the constant helper, the ever-agreeable soul. But this relentless pursuit of being perceived as kind is costing us our energy, our time, and our very freedom. And what you're about to discover will challenge everything you've been taught about virtue. Stoic philosophy offers a starkly different path. It warns that unthinking self-sacrifice is not strength, but a subtle form of self-betrayal. Today, we're exploring 8 critical ways your kindness might be undermining your life, and how to practice a wiser, more disciplined form of compassion. By the end, you'll know precisely when to extend yourself and when to hold your ground. The final point, especially, could be the key to reclaiming your mental sovereignty. If you're ready to transform your generosity into a source of power, not depletion, make sure to watch until the end. 1. When your generosity erodes your personal borders. Have you ever felt a quiet resentment after constantly accommodating others? Automatically saying yes, always prioritizing another's agenda, and sidestepping any potential conflict might feel like the moral high ground. But this pattern can quietly transform you into a background character in your own story. The demands of modern life, from co-workers to family to digital strangers, can consume your reserves if left unchecked. Without clear lines, you end up drained, anxious, and full of unspoken frustration. Your vital energy leaks away, your own missions are sidelined, and your identity begins to blur. This isn't virtue. It's a slow-motion surrender. The Stoics propose a more empowered view. As Marcus Aurelius reflected, stop debating what a virtuous person looks like. Simply embody one. True character isn't about universal approval. It's about acting with discernment and self-command. Being principled means knowing the limits of your duty and the start of your self-preservation. Setting limits isn't a selfish act. It's a necessary strategy for maintaining your resources and ensuring your contributions remain deliberate and potent. Without them, your goodwill loses its power and your existence becomes unstable. Picture this. A co-worker consistently leans on you to finish their tasks. Out of routine or a dread of seeming uncooperative, you always consent. Gradually, your performance declines. Your deadlines loom larger and your stress compounds. You start to feel irritation, anger, and even disappointment for letting your own objectives slip. Yet, halting this cycle doesn't make you ungenerous. It makes your generosity conscious. Stoic thought asserts that a reasoned, purposeful deed is always more valuable than mindless conformity. Here's a powerful method to restore your authority. Today, pinpoint one domain where your helpfulness is being overextended or taken for granted. It might be a professional duty, a recurring commitment for a friend, or even compulsion to answer non-urgent messages instantly. Define a firm line. For instance, I can dedicate 20 minutes to this today. After that, I must return to my core responsibilities. Convey this limit with courtesy and conviction. This single act validates both your ethics and your connections, demonstrating that authentic compassion honors constraints. Furthermore, contemplate the fallout of overcommitting. Inquire, am I assisting from a place of genuine choice or from apprehension, routine, or pressure? Mere awareness can be revolutionary. By creating a pause before agreeing, you reclaim your agency and stop your goodwill from becoming a weakness. Every time you honor a boundary, you fortify your inner resolve and safeguard your vigor for endeavors that truly align with your purpose. Your mantra for today, my compassion includes my own well-being. Recite it, believe it, and let it steer your choices. Remember, Stoicism isn't about emotional detachment. It's about harmonizing your conduct with logic, principle, and self-regard. Being endlessly agreeable without borders is not moral excellence. It's an invitation to be used. Firm boundaries let your kindness radiate without sacrificing your vitality, your serenity, or your mission. 2. When constant self-sacrifice leads to self-neglect. Do you consistently place others' needs above your own, even when it leaves you empty and adrift? Many confuse self-denial with moral righteousness, thinking that personal martyrdom is the pinnacle of compassion. You postpone your own meals to aid a friend, work overtime for a teammate, or set aside your aspirations to please your circle. Initially, it may seem admirable, but persistently, It grinds down your drive, vitality, and direction. This is not true compassion. It's self-erasure masquerading as benevolence. Stoicism provides a crucial counterpoint. Virtue must be tempered with practical wisdom. Seneca observed, "Life is not short, but we often make it so by spending our time poorly." Pouring yourself out for others without consideration for your own condition is to squander the finite hours, focus, and capacity you could direct toward significant development. Authentic compassion doesn't require self-obliteration. It flourishes when coupled with self-esteem and deliberate intent. Imagine this. A friend regularly seeks your counsel on their ventures, and you invariably consent. Meanwhile, your own key initiatives remain stalled. You feel a sense of wrong for prioritizing your path. Yet, tension and annoyance accumulate beneath the surface. Your aid might address temporary issues for others, but what is the ultimate price? Stoic insight reminds us that supporting others should never compromise your core integrity, ambitions, or health. Here is a structured way to restore equilibrium. Identify your most depleted zones. Observe where your personal power is being sacrificed routinely, be it in your career, your home, or your digital space. Establish personal thresholds. Determine how much effort, attention, or assets you can provide without damaging your primary goals. Communicate transparently with respect and firmness. Voice your limits. I can assist, but only for a set period or in this specific manner. Honor your commitments to yourself first. Block out time for your own tasks and aims as non-negotiable events. This methodology guarantees your giving is purposeful, not automatic. By mindfully guarding your resources, you sustain the ability to act wisely, remain dedicated to personal evolution, and avoid exhaustion. Stoicism posits that self-respect is the bedrock of ethical conduct. If you abandon yourself, you cannot genuinely aid anyone else. Your small challenge for today: select one arena where you typically overgive and enact a minor boundary. For example, reserve 90 minutes exclusively for your own work, learning, or renewal before addressing external appeals. Notice how this decision doesn't reduce your compassion. It enhances it, because now your actions are considered and sustainable. Repeat this declaration during your day. I support others while honoring my own needs. Let it function as a mental reminder that compassion blended with self-esteem is potent, enduring, and congruent with Stoic ideals. Sacrificing too much may feel righteous, but in reality, it silently diminishes your life. Guard yourself first, and your deeds will possess far greater significance, effect, and truth. Your energy is your most sacred currency. Spend it with intention. 3. When an inability to refuse invites exploitation. Have you ever felt cornered by your own automatic compliance? Constant agreement might appear courteous or supportive, but when you cannot decline, your goodwill becomes a doorway for misuse. People begin to assume your acquiescence, and soon your schedule, focus, and goals are no longer your own. The more you evade saying no, the more people unintentionally capitalize on your accommodating nature. This is not authentic virtue. It's a vulnerability cloaked in the appearance of goodwill. Stoicism instructs that principle must be directed by rational thought. Epictetus stated, "We are disturbed not by events, but by the views we take of them." Automatically assenting to every demand is an irrational view. It hands governance of your life to external forces. Being an ethical person does not mean forfeiting your self-determination. It means behaving with conscious choice and defending your own space. Declining when justified is not self-centered. It is the foundation of accountable moral action. Envision a typical situation. An acquaintance frequently asks for your input, support, or time, and you comply impulsively, worried that a rejection might cause offense. Over time, this habit leaves you strained, aggravated, and bitter. Your personal targets get deferred, your individual power fades, and your relationships subtly become lopsided, where your support is assumed instead of valued. Stoicism demands mindful selection. Act for correct reasons, not from dread, pattern, or duty. A practical tactic to regain command is to hesitate before replying, granting yourself a space to evaluate if the appeal matches your priorities. Gauge whether the request fulfills a real need, or if you're simply dodging unease. Answer decisively with a respectful yet definite refusal. "I'm not available to assist currently, but I hope you find solution." Steadiness is vital. Upholding this method educates others to respect your limits and bolsters your own sense of control. By applying these steps, your compassion becomes chosen rather than reflexive. You aren't abandoning generosity. You're ensuring your acts of aid are meaningful, lasting, and congruent with your own code. Stoicism highlights that valuing yourself permits your virtue to thrive. Without it, your endeavors are weakened and exploited. A micro-challenge is to recognize one appeal you would normally accept without thought. Pause, consider, and decline if it's warranted. Observe the shift in your vigor, concentration, and emotional balance. This straightforward exercise reprograms your patterns, converting reactive accommodation into considered action. Affirm to yourself throughout the day, I decline when necessary, and my compassion stays potent and deliberate. Let this reinforcement solidify that true resilience springs from balance. Giving without losing yourself, aiding without being used, and acting with logic instead of impulse. When you can refuse, your compassion keeps its worth, influence, and self-respect. For when you trade honesty for artificial harmony, have you ever offered praise you didn't feel to dodge a difficult moment? Flattery, false agreements, or hollow comforts can seem innocuous, even civil, but they often mask insecurity and avoidance. When your kindness becomes an act, it ceases to be real. Feigned pleasantness might shield you from momentary awkwardness, but over the long term, it deteriorates trust, esteem, and your own moral soundness. You begin existing to satisfy others rather than living by your truths. This is not Stoic principle. It's self-delusion veiled in a pleasant facade. Stoicism teaches that virtue is behaving in agreement with reason and reality. Seneca declared, "The highest good is truth, and whoever serves will never be a slave to others." Evading reality to maintain an image surrenders your liberty. True compassion is rooted in candor. It respects others while upholding your essence. When you compromise fact to be accepted or to maintain superficial calm, you undermine your ethical core and your capacity to act with conviction. Suppose a friend requests your opinion on their work, and instead of giving constructive critique, you claim it's flawless. You sidestep potential friction, believing it is gentler. Later, they find errors independently or, more detrimentally, continue repeating missteps. Your initial kindness has created larger issues. Stoicism reminds us that the correct action isn't always the easiest, but it is aligned with integrity. Honesty is a compassionate choice for the long journey because it enables others to improve and safeguards your own virtue. A practical method is to cultivate purposeful truth-telling. Start by recognizing instances where you might resort to white lies or ambiguous approvals. Hesitate and ask yourself whether concealing reality helps anyone or merely evades discomfort. When fitting, speak truthfully but considerately. Use phrases like, "From my viewpoint," or "My honest feedback is." This way you remain both kind and steadfast. Another crucial tactic is to distinguish between helpful truth and brutal bluntness. Stoic compassion isn't harsh. It conveys reality in a manner that informs, directs, or shields rather than belittles. By aligning your deeds with reason, you sustain relationships that are genuine and mutually respectful, not fake and transactional. A micro-practice for today is to spot one occasion where you would normally hide the truth to preserve comfort. Speak with candor using diplomacy and regard. Watch how this alters the dynamic and your internal state. By regularly selecting principled honesty over artificial harmony, you reinforce your inner fortitude and ethical lucidity. Repeat this affirmation. My compassion is built on truth, not convenience. Let it direct your behavior and remind you that authentic virtue demands bravery. Dodging reality may feel secure, but genuineness constructs respect, trust, and lasting effect. Compassion and honesty are not adversaries. They are allies. When you integrate both, your actions carry force, clarity, and integrity. True kindness speaks the truth when a lie would be easier. 5. When unthinking aid fosters helplessness. Assisting others is a noble endeavor, but when done without consideration, it can inadvertently cultivate reliance. Providing help reflexively, without weighing the results or enabling others to act independently, often leads to people leaning on you for answers instead of cultivating their own problem-solving skills. What begins as charity can morph into a snare that consumes your hours, focus, and cognitive bandwidth. This is not authentic compassion. It is negligence pretending to be virtue. Stoicism stresses considered action over impulsive behavior. Epictetus taught that we should behave according to what is within our sway and with comprehension of the consequence. Assisting blindly without foresight violates this tenet. When you help without mentoring or enabling others, you encourage dependency instead of self-reliance. True compassion incorporates wisdom. It elevates others without surrendering your own priorities or encouraging helplessness. Reflect on this. A teammate requests you handle duties they are capable of doing. You agree instinctively, wanting to be supportive or elude conflict. Over time, they start to see the support as standard. You feel duty-bound, pressured, and diverted from your own workload. Your labor might fix their immediate issue, but it inhibits their development and converts your generosity into a weight. Stoic philosophy reminds us that the aim of virtue is not to placate others mindlessly, but to act intentionally in harmony with reason and value. A practical method is to pair assistance with enablement. Before helping, ask yourself, will this action merely fix the problem, or will it teach the person to fix it themselves? When appropriate, provide direction, sources, or strategies instead of doing the job for them. For example, rather than editing someone's document for them, go through it together, suggest areas for enhancement, and prompt them to make the revisions. This way, your support builds their capability and conserve your energy and attention. Another key approach is to set limits around recurring appeals. If someone depends on your help persistently, convey your boundaries clearly and firmly. You could state, I can offer thoughts on this today, but moving forward, I urge you to attempt it independently first. I'm available to check it after. This protects your time and mental capacity while encouraging autonomy. Stoicism teaches that virtuous action demands wisdom and discipline, not mere submission. A micro challenge for today is to identify one scenario where you routinely resolve another's difficulty. Withdraw slightly, offer mentorship instead of full solution, and note the impact on both your resource levels and their self-sufficiency. Over time, this deliberate practice transforms impulsive helping into intentional, empowering compassion. Affirm to yourself, I assist to enable, not to create dependency. True virtue is a blend of generosity and judgment. Aiding without thought may seem benign, but it can quietly compromise your life and the development of others. By acting purposefully, you preserve your integrity, energy, and the genuine value of your compassion. 6. When accepting all requests depletes your core resources. Do you find yourself agreeing to every offer, appeal, or expectation, even when it leaves you running on empty? Accepting everything can seem amiable or generous, but when you fail to screen what you undertake, your fundamental vitality is gradually consumed. People begin to presume your perpetual availability, and your concentration on purposeful endeavors withers. Overcommitment acts as a silent saboteur, pilfering time, mental clarity, and inner calm. This is not benevolence. It is depletion disguised as moral conduct. Stoicism teaches that insight must direct endeavor. Marcus Aurelius wrote, You have authority over your own mind, not outside occurrences. Understand this, and you will discover resilience. By affirming everything, you relinquish command of your resources to others, allowing scant space for your own aims and duties. Virtue requires discrimination. Helping and engaging should be conscious, not compulsive. Safeguarding your energy isn't selfish. It is the prerequisite for lasting compassion and potent action. Contemplate this. You get numerous invites for social gatherings, professional partnerships, or errands. Eager to be supportive and appreciated, you accept them all. By the week's end, you are cognitively and physically spent. Your own projects, rest, and personal contemplation are ignored. Your actions, though outwardly charitable, no longer have weight. They are reactive and diffuse. Stoicism advocates for conscious choice. Act deliberately in alignment with logic, not compulsion or fear of disappointing others. A practical method is to assess appeals before consenting. Ask yourself, does this resonate with my core objectives, current resources, and personal code? If not, refuse graciously. For instance, you might say, Thank you for thinking of me, but I must dedicate my attention to my priorities right now. This simple hesitation conserves your vigor while upholding integrity and goodwill over the long term. Practicing this discernment strengthens both your borders and your positive influence. Another key strategy is to plan your obligations intentionally. Reserve blocks of time for your goals, recovery, and reflection as immovable. Let external requests fit around your essential priorities, not dominate them. This disciplined approach ensures your deeds are purposeful. Your power remains undiminished, and your virtue is expressed with conviction and lucidity. A micro challenge for today is to notice one domain where you tend to accept all incoming demands automatically. Pause, reflect, and consciously choose whether to engage or not. Observe the difference in your vitality, focus, and overall disposition. This practice trains your mind to prioritize, builds your resilience, and preserves the potency of your compassion. Affirm to yourself, I guard my resources so my actions stay purposeful and powerful. Accepting everything may feel congenial, but it quietly diminishes your authority, concentration, and wellness. Stoicism teaches that the self-directed individual allocates attention and effort consciously, ensuring that compassion, presence, and endeavor retain their depth and effectiveness. 7. When you anticipate appreciation, leading to disillusionment. Have you ever felt upset or wounded when someone failed to recognize your assistance or value your input? Expecting gratitude seems normal, but it's a snare that robs you of contentment. When your compassion is conditional on acknowledgement, every unnoticed gesture becomes a seed of disappointment. You become reactive, emotionally chained to others' reactions, and your happiness hinges on variables outside your command. This is not real generosity. It is self-concealment disguised as moral action. Stoicism teaches that the worth of a deed lies in the doing itself, not in the response it generates. Marcus Aurelius wrote, if an action is not correct, refrain from it. If a statement is not true, do not utter it. By concentrating on your intention rather than the outcome, you maintain autonomy and inner power. Compassion should be a manifestation of your values, not an instrument for validation or acclaim. When you expect thanks, you hand control of your satisfaction to others, rendering your peace brittle and provisional. Imagine a real-world instance. You invest significant effort helping an associate with challenge. You await some recognition or gratitude, but they offer none. You feel invisible, irritated, or even bitter. Your letdown overshadows the deed itself, making the help feel like a burden rather than a purposeful act. Stoicism teaches that your virtue is intrinsic. Its merit is not contingent on external validation. By releasing expectations, you reclaim your emotional independence. A practical method is to shift emphasis from result to motive. Before assisting, ask yourself, am I doing this because it resonates with my principles or because I desire acknowledgement? If your purpose is aligned with virtue, the act is complete in itself, and others' responses become unimportant. This mindset revolutionizes how you perceive giving. You act from integrity rather than a craving for approval. Another strategy is to foster internal recognition. Ponder the effect of your actions, the dedication you invested, and the congruence with your creed. Brief journaling or quiet introspection can strengthen this internal validation. Gratitude from others is pleasant but non-essential. Stoicism emphasizes that self-regard and ethical clarity are the true benchmarks of a principled life. A micro-practice for today is to execute an act of support without anticipating any acknowledgement or return. Monitor your emotions and see how the lack of external feedback affects, or doesn't affect, your sense of fulfillment. Over time, this nurtures a mindset of self-sufficient virtue, where your peace and satisfaction depend solely on your principles, not on the reactions of others. Affirm to yourself, I act with integrity, irrespective of recognition. Anticipating gratitude may feel instinctive, but it subtly weakens your self-rule and emotional steadiness. By embracing Stoic wisdom, you protect your inner calm, allowing your compassion to remain powerful, genuine, and unburdened by the weight of expectation. 8. When compassion turns robotic, stifling inner ambition. Compassion is a strength, but when it becomes mechanical, it can quietly suppress your personal initiative, perpetually putting others first, replying impulsively to appeals, or performing generous acts without reflection can lead to a life propelled by routine rather than intention. Eventually, you might discover that your own dreams, interests, and drives are abandoned. This is not authentic virtue. It is automatic giving without insight, leaving your resources dispersed and your progress stalled. Stoicism teaches that virtue must be guided by reason and awareness. Marcus Aurelius urged us, no more talking about what a good person is. Be one. Robotic compassion without contemplation or conscious choice risks converting an asset into a deficit. Authentic Stoic conduct is deliberate. Every decision to give, aid, or support must resonate with your values and missions. Without this resonance, acts of kindness can subtly display significant personal endeavor and your latent potential remains unrealized. Ponder this example. Each day you provide assistance to peers, reply instantly to communications, and accommodate every need without hesitation. While your motives are honorable, your individual ventures are delayed, your wellness habits are disrupted, and your focus on long-range visions fades. Over time, this habitual generosity dampens motivation and lessens the impact of your work. Stoicism emphasizes conscious action. Your vigor is limited, and every act should be measured and meaningful. A practical method is to convert reactive routines into intentional practice. Before acting, pause and inquire, does this serve my higher purpose, or am I merely following a pattern? Choose consciously whether to participate and establish borders where needed. For instance, assist someone in a manner that empowers them, or allocate specific periods for personal missions before offering your focus elsewhere. This approach ensures your compassion is sustainable, purposeful, and congruent with your own evolution. Another strategy is to designate personal priorities as non-negotiable. Dedicate time each day to concentrate on objectives, skill building, or self-renewal before tending to others. By shielding these core domains, you maintain your vitality, clarity, and drive. Habitual compassion becomes disciplined compassion. Your generosity is no longer reactive, but a conscious selection that protects your own possibilities. A micro-practice is to observe your daily exchanges and notice where you operate from automatic routine. Pinpoint one action you typically perform reflexively and decide to either hesitate, redirect, or set a limit. Reflect on how this adjustment influences your concentration, energy, and personal inspiration. Over time, this practice fortifies self-command, ensuring that your compassion enriches rather than diminishes your existence. Affirm to yourself, my compassion is deliberate and aligned with my growth. Automatic giving may feel virtuous, but without intent, it can quietly suppress your personal initiative and clarity. Stoicism teaches that conscious conduct, steered by reason, preserves both virtue and vitality. By giving with awareness and boundaries, your compassion remains potent, sustainable, and in sync with your life's deeper purpose. Compassion is a profound strength. Yet like any powerful force, it requires the guidance of wisdom and conscious choice. Giving without reflection, stretching yourself thin, or seeking external validation can quietly sabotage your vitality, focus, and personal evolution. Stoicism posits that virtue is not quantified by the volume of your giving, but by how mindfully and deliberately you act in accordance with your core values. Authentic compassion honors personal limits, safeguards your integrity, and enables others rather than breeding reliance or a sense of entitlement. By understanding the subtle mechanisms through which well-intentioned generosity can misfire, you take back command of your schedule, resources, and missions. Each act of compassion becomes a conscious choice, not a reflex or a pattern, allowing your virtue to be enduring and impactful. Remember, your mental serenity and personal drive are not secondary concerns. They are the very foundation that makes genuine generosity possible. Integrate these lessons into your daily practice. Establish clear borders, act with purpose, and relinquish the need for gratitude. Let your compassion be powerful, disciplined, and in harmony with your expansion. In the spirit of Marcus Aurelius, living a virtuous life is a matter of deliberate action, not blind conformity. Be compassionate, but be discerning. Protect your own flame while illuminating the path for others, and your life will embody both resilience and profound humanity. If this resonated with you, and you're ready to master the art of disciplined compassion, support this channel by hitting the like button and subscribing to Winds of Thought for more insights.